This is my randomology, and today we're going to end the year the way it should be with Ghost, Jack Nicholson, and murder. You know, it's actually really difficult to find a New Year's centered horror movie or just a movie in general. I mean, there's several. There are a lot of movies that take place in New Year's, but I don't think there's any movie that really captures the essence of the holiday as much as The Shining. I can't explain why. I just kind of wanted to watch The Shining and it said New Year's. So now I have seen the movie several times. Not for a few years though, but I think it's also kind of like Die Hard, a great way to really learn about, well, not just filmmaking. I mean, it's Stanley Kubrick, but just the way that a movie should be put together. A horror movie, suspense movie, character studies, all these different things. Now, I know Stephen King is not a big fan of this adaptation. He's made that very clear over the years, but it's still an incredible movie. So we're going to go ahead and watch it. We're going to analyze it, try to figure out what the hell is going on, and let's get to the movie. I really did have a list of about like half a dozen other movies that are set around New Year's, but this one just jumped out at me. So like I said, this isn't really a reaction. I've seen this movie a lot, but it is, I think, a great teaching tool in how to put a film together, how to put a story together. It is an adaptation, I know that, but still, I mean, it's one of the classics. So let's go ahead and see how this thing is put together. Let's get under the hood. Let's pull things apart. Let's see how it holds up. Also, kudos to the team that did Dr. Sleep, that managed to take all this footage and turn it into night for that little scene where they're going up to the Overlook Hotel towards the end. I know there's a lot of people that really didn't like Dr. Sleep. I thought it was fantastic. I saw the director's cut. The last part of it is blatant fan service. I don't know. I'm here for blatant fan service. I like to be serviced. I often have students, when they have to do their review essays, for example, they'll get a movie that is older. And by older, I mean made before 2008. And a lot of them always complain about things like this, just like long panning shots, or just technically nothing really happening on screen. I mean, there's nothing, it's just the car driving. But it's establishment, right? Like, it's establishing the location, it's establishing how big this place is. I mean, the Overlook itself is massive on the inside, and once we get inside, there is a sense of claustrophobia, especially once the snow sets in, right? My grandparents used to live in a hotel in Laredo, which was converted into an assisted living facility. And the decor in the main floor had chandeliers like that, a color scheme very similar to this. The pattern on the floor was also very similar to what we're seeing here. First time walking in, I told everybody, like, we're in the Overlook Hotel. Are we sure we want to move them here? Also, there's no way that this window is where it is, because there's supposed to be a hallway behind them. It's one of these little things that makes the place appear impossible. There's a video, and I'm forgetting the title of it. I'll see if I can link to it below. That really kind of breaks down all the little visual things, just the way that the hotel doesn't make sense on the inside. Like, there's a lot of stuff in the geography that just is unnerving.
Wait and see. We're all gonna have a real good time.
No, we're not. You know, there's the trope that, you know, writers basically put themselves in all their work. I mean, Jack's basically Stephen King. He wrote what he knew. He was a teacher, you know, and then he became a writer and all these other things.
Physically, it's not a very demanding job. The only thing that can get a bit trying up here during the winter is the tremendous sense of isolation.
Physically not very demanding, mentally strenuous. So basically being a teacher. I always did kind of wonder, like, isn't Danny supposed to be in school at this point? Like, did they just pull him out for the 5 months they're going to be here?
Your wife and son, how do you think they'll take to it?
They'll love it.
Right. Well,
That's a really good thing that
For a
Jack Nicholson did there with his
30-year-old
response. Like he actually did what most people would do
One other
was
thing I think
he knew the
we should
answer,
talk
he reacted
about
to the
it.
way that he
I
thought
don't
about
want
it,
to sound
and then he gave a
melodramatic,
completely
but
different one,
something
still with the
that's
facial expression of the
phenomenal.
original
Give a
thought.
few people-
This is something similar to what I said in the Die Hard reaction. Like this is just a very normal conversation, except for the fact that it's about an axe murder. But what's really carrying it is the performances, the dialogue. I mean, Jack Nicholson kind of carries this whole scene. I mean, he's just intriguing to look at his reactions. He's kind of all over the place, and it's really kind of setting up the fact that this is a guy who has a lot going on behind the eyeballs, so to speak.
It's still hard for me to believe it actually happened here. But it did.
Took forever to clean the bloodstains.
I also understand why your people in Denver left it for you to tell me.
Yeah, because if I'd known about this back then, I probably wouldn't have taken the job.
You can rest assured, Mr. Ullman, that's not going to happen with me.
No, he's going to have a completely different mental
As far as
breakdown.
my
For all the, let's be upfront about it, torture that Stanley Kubrick put the cast and crew through, the fact that he was able to actually shield Danny Lloyd, the child actor here, from the fact that he was making a horror movie, that's commendable. I mean, it doesn't excuse or erase everything else that everybody else had to go through, which was horrible in every sense of the word. But yeah, you got to put that little check mark on there too. He was very protective of this kid.
Anymore. Okay.
Children shouldn't play with dead things.
I'm quite sure there's nothing physically wrong with Danny.
Yeah?
Physically, no. Mentally,
Yeah, he seems
well, even then.
absolutely fine.
Believe me, these episodes.
I like the
are
nice
not
touches of just the place being
Maybe
filled
much
with
worse.
books. I mean, it really also tells you what kind of family this is, especially the fact that
But what's
Jack's
the
a,
matter with
a
him?
writer, a teacher. I mean,
Mrs.
there would be
Torrance,
books.
Most of the time,
I-
these episodes with kids are never explained. They're brought on.
And there's 3 more bookshelves in the
emotional factors, and
in the
they
living room.
Rarely.
It's an interesting performance, the way that she's again, it's the eyes, it's what she's saying. I mean, if you were to just mute this and just look at her eyes and forget her mouth, you can tell that she is not believing what she's talking about. And this again is something wonderful that movies should do. If you bring something up, a significant event or an item or a character or something like that, it should come into play later on. And that story is the one that Jack's talking about later on in the bar when he starts seeing the bartender. And can we please all accept that the most stressful
We
part
must
of this
really be
movie was the
high up.
ash on Wendy's cigarette?
What was the donut party?
It was a great party. You should have been there. They're still talking about it
They
years
were
later.
partying.
You mean they ate each other up?
They had to, in order to survive.
Like real Americans. The soundtrack too, combined with the title sequence right now, is, I mean, it is music, but it's also just all these dissonant tones. So it's already building up into just making you feel uneasy. Like I said, the little things in the hotel that don't quite make sense geographically, little things about the. There's a section I think where the carpet actually changes orientation from one shot to the other. I mean, it really is a gorgeous looking place. It's a little too like brown and yellow for my taste. I feel like it needs some green or something. Blue.
Oh, this whole place has had an illustrious past.
Lots of murder. I think I saw somewhere a while back that the 2 actresses that play the girls, like they still go to like horror conventions. And I just mentioned that all the brown and yellow and just kind of a little flat. I mean, it's very much like late 70s, early 80s design, but it really does help the color pop out, especially when the 2 girls appear, especially when there's a lot of blood appearing.
The site is supposed to be located on an Indian burial ground, and I believe they actually had to repel a few Indian attacks as they were building it.
I'm curious
That's
exactly
our
when
snoop.
that trope of the built on Indian
both
burial
drive a car?
ground started.
That's fine. Because basically,
this is one of the
smokehead operates
older
very
works
much
that I
like a
think
car, and
uses
won't
it,
take you long to get the hang of it.
but I don't want to say it's the first.
Boy, I bet you we could really have a good party in this room, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Afraid
party,
you're not
all
gonna
right.
do too well.
I found him outside looking for you.
And why wasn't he with you all?
Do it now. I think it'd be a good idea if you could show Mrs. Torrance the kitchen.
And why not Mr.
Continue
Torrance?
on
Is
with
he
the
not going to cook?
It'd be a pleasure.
No, he's not. He really is not. Now, all these sequences showing the hotel, I mean, it is very normal. It's just the kind of thing where, again, it's the acting, it's the dialogue, it's all the little things that you were picking up on that really make it work. It's also laying out how big this place is, as you get a sense of the geography. It's kind of something similar to what Halloween did with showing the houses and where they're in relation to each other and what each of them looks like on the inside. So by the time we get that final girl chase, we know where we are. Like we're not disoriented. And there's so many movies where you have no idea what's going on, who's where, and it's more confusing than anything. I mentioned that when we did the reaction to Cosmic Sin, that final fight, like who's where are we? Like there's no sense of geography, and you get a real sense of this place. I mean, it's huge. Not every place, obviously, but you know the major ones.
What's up, Doc?
I love this guy. I really hate that he gets killed.
By 5 o'clock tonight, you'll never know anybody was ever here.
Just like a ghost ship, huh?
Yeah, a ghost ship. That's apt. A movie like this with such a limited cast really depends on its performances, and everybody does a really good job in this one. The good combination of a good performer and good dialogue. I mean, that's the killer combination, and this movie has it in spades.
It's just that, some places are like people.
You want to avoid them at all costs. The tricky part in this scene is that we're getting pretty much the info dump on what Shining is, all these psychic powers, but it's being done in a way that they have to explain it to a little kid, which is actually kind of genius if you think about it, because a lot of people in the audience maybe don't know what these things are, and having it explained to them in this context, it's not talking down to them, and he's not talking down to Danny either. He's trying to speak in ways that someone who doesn't know anything about this can understand. He's treating him almost like an equal.
There's scare room 237, ain't you?
Liar, liar, liar. I would like to point out at this point that Jack Torrance has been alone, just with his family, no internet, probably very little TV, and nothing like that, and he has not snapped yet. And yet, first lockdown, there were people ready to just go on a murder spree after 10 days. So kudos to Jack. Hotel this big, if I ever had to do something like this with my wife and daughter, I would put a tracker on that kid, because wow. Or bells. Also the sound design in the scene, just... Again, setting up geography, showing us all the little things going on. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to have like a food tray to serve breakfast or lunch or something in. Just, it's all fancy like.
Lots of ideas. No good ones.
So the plight of a writer.
It's just a matter of settling back into the habit of writing every day.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's actually perfect writing advice. Just keep
Really
writing.
nice
Eventually
up
something
there,
comes
isn't
out.
I thought it was kind of scary.
I fell in love with it right away.
It's like something was speaking to me, something ethereal. Similar to when I analyzed Forbidden Planet, I really think that the lack of music in this movie, again, it makes you focus on everything else. I mean, you're really focused on the performances, the acting, the cinematography especially. I mean, if Kubrick is known for anything, it's the look of his movies. I mean, he's known for a lot of other things. Not all of them great, but the way that things look, the tone of it all. I'm on the fence. If I ever was wealthy enough to have a hedge mace, property big enough to have one, would I have a hedge mace? Yes, I would. And now that we actually do have some music, it's complementing the scene. Music should always complement what's going on screen, and the oh my god, what is that instrument that's playing right now? It's kind of making like these little wave sounds. And shots like that just, oof, it's disorienting. We start off with a month, and now we're going into specific days. I haven't had fruit cocktail in a while. I just realized that it was the dessert, in high school lunches that I remember. Again, just the subtle music starting to build up. We didn't have any music in just the regular walking around the Overlook scenes, and now we're getting it, and it's subtle. It's just sort of building up, and it's creating that sense of uneasiness. Yeah, curiosity killed the cat, Danny. I mean, he killed a lot of things in this hotel, but, you know, also the cat. I just realized he's pretty much dressed like Super Mario.
Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
I mean, let's be honest. As a character, Jack has never actually been, you know, presented in the best light. And that scene right there was the first time that we've seen him actually be cruel. And then again, it builds up on what we know about him, you know, as far as, you know, what happened with Danny, the writing, this weird connection he's already showing with the Overlook Hotel. God, I was in Indiana for 4 years. I don't think we ever had snow like that. I mean, it felt like it. I'd never seen snow before. I'd never been anywhere where it snowed. You know, there's a reason that the Kubrick stare is named after Kubrick and his movies. Skip right past Friday. This is hell. Oh, those two are so creepy. And again, just the design of it. I mean, everything's got these like complex patterns on it, the carpet, the wallpapers, whereas they are in a bright color and it's just flat, so they stick out. I'm wondering though, since Danny Lloyd didn't know that he was doing a horror movie. I mean, he didn't even have access to the full script, just his parts. I am wondering like what he thought he was doing. I mean, obviously he knew he was making a movie. I mean, he's old enough to understand that, but I am wondering what the directions were.
He only went to bed a few hours ago. Can't you wait till later? Make sure you come right back, because I'm going to make lunch soon. Okay?
Is she not concerned about the fact that he's been up all night? I mean, I know he's writing, he's trying to do all this other stuff, but obviously, Wendy as a character gets a lot of flack from a lot of horror fans for just the way that she reacts at the very end. There's a lot of memes about the way that she holds that bat. But given everything that we see in the first part of the movie, especially the second half, I mean, it makes sense why she would act like this. I mean, this is an abusive relationship. I mean, she's reacting the way that she's always been acting, right? He wants to write this thing. At the same time, he's taking care of the hotel. But like they told him, it's not a physically demanding thing. So a lot of this is really just stuff in his head and also the ghosts.
Hey, Danny. I love you more than anything else in the whole world. I'll never do anything to hurt you. Never.
You know, except for all the other times I did hurt you. Aside from that, you know.
Yes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. God, that damn carpet. Jeez. Hey, what is the point of having a pattern like that? You know, and this is not the only place that ever did it. I forgot about the ball. At least for the first half of the movie, you could almost make an argument that a lot of this is really just kind of in their heads. I mean, you'd really have to kind of stretch to justify a few of the things, like Tony knowing that Jack got the job, or some of the things that Danny heard in the beginning. Also, wasn't this Jack's job? Isn't he the one supposed to be checking this thing? Again, multidimensional characters. Is he abusive? Yes. Is he kind of a jackass? Yes. Does he in a weird way actually love his family? Yes. It would be so easy to just make him the villain of this, but he has to start it from a place where he actually does love them. Now, is he going about this completely the wrong way? Yes. Am I excusing anything that he does in the movie before or after this? No. All I'm doing is pointing out that he isn't just a straight up one-dimensional character. He has his priorities really mixed up. And that's what really makes this so heartbreaking, really. And it's part of the reason that Dr. Sleep also works, because Danny does remember his father, you know, in positive terms, not just the negatives. But it's a very complicated relationship. It's a very complicated series of memories. You know, sometimes I forget how physical of a performance this actually was for Jack Nicholson, too. I mean, it's Obviously, the thing with the axe, but just, and I don't mean physical and like he had to do like a lot of physical work. I mean the the physical motions and all these other things. You would think that there'd be switches for like different sections of the ballroom, not one switch for the whole thing. This semester, one of the classes I had to teach was in it was a large conference area that it was sectioned off into three, like they often are, and I was teaching in one of them. And it's a huge room, like without the partitions, it probably is about that big, and it's just it felt so big. And to turn all the lights on, I had to go to like some switches on one side, switches on the other. It was it was just it was a bad place to teach. To really show just how far he's gotten though, like this, he reacts to this like it's the most natural thing in the world, and this is when you really start to realize just how far gone he is. I mean, there's all the other things that have happened, obviously, but now there's a fully stocked bar with a bartender.
Right here. You slip me a bottle of bourbon, a little glass, and some ice. You can do that, can't you, Lloyd? You're not too busy, are you?
No, sir. I'm not busy at all.
Good man. You set him up and I'll knock him back, Lloyd. One by one.
Now, Jack asked for a bourbon, and he just gave him a bottle of Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is not bourbon. This truly is a hallucination of the fevered mind. I know a lot of people didn't like the callbacks and all these things to the Shining and the Doctor Sleep film, but I think that the scene where Danny does go to the bar and speaks with Jack's ghost as the bartender was probably one of the best in the movie. I mean, it was wonderfully acted. It was wonderfully written. It really showed the character development for Danny, and it really kind of answered some questions about Jack. I mean, Jack was a member of the hotel at that point.
Nothing serious.
So, I don't know. I really liked it. I know some people didn't, but I thought it was probably the best scene in the movie.
I love the little son of a bitch.
If you don't have kids, you don't understand just how much that is a perfect sentiment that every parent has towards their kid. You love your kids. You truly do. I love my kid. I would do anything for her, despite everything that she does.
Completely unintentional. Could have happened to anybody.
Oh, there were 5 glasses in? Yeah, sure.
Years ago. A momentary loss of muscular coordination.
And severe inebriation. You're forgetting that part. What is the justification for having carpet that ugly and all of these clashing patterns in regular hotel rooms? I mean, you could make the argument that for a movie like this, where you're trying to create this orientation and an uneasy feeling, the fact that there are stripes and then whatever the hell that is on the floor, and then the pattern in the bathroom and the bed sheets and all these things, it's supposed to make you uncomfortable. In the movie, it works. Why is that the case in real life, though?
Jack. Wendy, I have let you fuck up my life so far, but I am not gonna let you fuck this up.
And now we're in full-on villain mode. You know, he's been abusive, yes. He has been a lot of other things, but from this point forward, there is no reaching him. There is no anything. I'm also realizing that Jack right now is wearing a color scheme similar to what Danny was wearing earlier, blue and red. And it's one of the only times that red really appears in the movie, aside from the elevator with blood and all these different things. But no, it's a good little connection between the two of them. Got all that yellow with the red and the brown. It just looks like it looks decayed, which I guess is kind of the point.
Torrance, your money's no good here. Orders from the house.
Orders from the house, which is a very disturbing line because of course you can read it as management, or you can read it as the house, as in the hotel itself. Again, it's one of those wonderful, like, just subtle little things that nobody dwells on him in the movie, but it works. You know, and a lot of other directors would have really just botched showing them hit, and then all the little conversation and going into the restroom here, it would have really seemed like there's no need for this. This is kind of, I don't want to say it's a rule, but you don't have to show people traveling from one point to another. Like if somebody's at home and they say, I got to go get groceries, you don't have to show them getting into the car, driving to the grocery store, parking, and then going into the store. It's just kind of assumed. I mean, you don't assume they teleported, right? I mean, it's a willing suspension of disbelief. In this case, though, the little interaction kind of sets this guy up as, harmless and helpful and all these different things, and which really makes his change in demeanor a little bit in a couple of minutes kind of shocking.
I've always been here.
And this conversation, I think, is one of the biggest hints as to what that picture at the end of the movie means. Like, he's always been here. For the Overlook, the concept of time doesn't really exist.
And when my wife tried to prevent me from doing my duty, I corrected her.
Yeah, corrected the hell out of her. Corrected him 30, 40 times with that axe. This is nothing as improvised on a Kubrick set. I do wonder who came up with the idea of having him watching Roadrunner cartoons, because it's a nice little bit of foreshadowing for the chase that happens in the climax of the movie. We're almost like an hour 40 into the movie, and obviously a lot of stuff has happened, but a lot of it's just been tension and build up, and there's been some release with a couple of scares here and there. But people still talk about this movie in such glowing terms because it works. It's this long, slow roller coaster ride, and we're getting to that apex, and we're about to fall. And we're going to fall a little bit, and then come right back up, and then we realize it's another one, and everything is going to go to hell. And yeah, where did she get the bat, by the way? I know she got it from her apartment, but why do they have a bat? And here comes the big reveal. All the times that Jack's been writing, the entire time probably. Like, this really, in retrospect, makes everything that's happened all the worse, because this has been going on since they got here. Part of me kind of wishes we could have seen them a little bit at the beginning, like interacting kind of like a happier family, to kind of make this blow just that much harder. But the movie is already like 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I mean, I know there's stuff in here that could probably be taken out to make room for something like that, but it's probably my only real complaint about this, that we never really got to see them as a happy, normal family. Almost immediately we got Jack being Jack.
I just want to go back to my room.
Why?
Well, I'm very confused. I just need a chance to think things over.
Yeah, this is the culmination of everything. Their relationship,
to think things over.
Their,
what good's a few minutes more gonna do?
Everything.
Stay with me, please. Don't hurt me.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
It's so disturbing.
Wendy,
Stop it!
give me the bat. Stop swinging the bat.
Again, a lot of people give her crap for the way she's holding the bat and everything else, but no, she.
Give me the bat.
This is a woman that has been in an abusive relationship. She has been talked down to. She has been emotionally crushed. There's no physicality in anything else that she's been doing. I mean, this is not... I don't know if she's ever actually even held a baseball bat before this. It makes sense. Now, is it frustrating that she can't fight back? Yes, but there's a reason that she's not doing so.
Wendy, baby.
It's like this is the playbook of an abuser,
I think
right
you
here.
hurt my head real bad. Go check out the snowcat in the radio and you'll see what I mean. Go check it out.
Part of me kind of wishes that they had not had the scene where he pulled out the whatever those things were from the inside of the radio. Just that this could have also been a bigger surprise, like just to kind of shock the audience with how far he's gone and how much he's already planned this stuff out. I know it's an old story about the making of this movie already, but the fact that they made a false door for him to try to break down, and Jack Nicholson had been, I think he'd been a volunteer firefighter, so he actually broke through the fake door really quickly. I'm not really saying much at this point, just because this is the most exciting part of the movie, and it's the build-up to. It'd be very easy to say that the movie could be cut down in order to make it more exciting and get to the point a lot faster, but it's kind of like what Alfred Hitchcock said, it's not the Jack in the Box popping up, it's the expectation that the Jack is going to jump that makes suspense work. The American version of this movie is about 2 hours and 20 minutes. The European version, if I remember correctly, is actually shorter. It's got like 20 minutes of it cut out. I'm actually kind of curious to know what that was removed, because I do think I did mention one or two little things there that I think could have been removed. Overall, everything is building towards something else. So yeah, again, all the familiar places, all that establishing the geography that we did earlier pays off. Like, we know where everything is in relation to everything else. Wendy, you want to go get your son now? Your son? Also, the fact that this is actually just lit normally is part of what makes it so disturbing. Real horror comes from the intrusion of the other into the everyday. And we've seen this hotel, with people and then with just the three of them. And now all this is going on in the same kind of environment. I mean, it's a little bit darker because it's, it's closer to night, but even with a limp, it's a justification for the, killer's never going to run thing, but it's still frightening because he is going to come after you. Is there any real explanation for this? No, not really. It's just freaky. And there have been supernatural elements in the movie before, but in the last 20 minutes, when everything is just piling on like this, it just makes it all the more shocking. And Danny Torrance proceeds to do probably one of the smartest things ever done in a horror movie. I do wonder, though, and I'm sure it's something that's explored in the book, maybe a little bit more, but but does the hotel really have more control over people who have shine? Because if that's the case, then Jack himself probably has some shine, which is why he was so receptive to the spirits. Yeah, I mean, that'll happen with your older elevators. You don't maintain them properly. There's also the question, of course, of how much of what Jack did was him coming out, how much of it was the spirits influencing him. I mean, you could really make the argument that this is who Jack is. I mean, all the spirits did was give him a little push.
See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
At the same time, if you do buy into the idea that that nightmare that he had where he killed his wife and kid was him expressing genuine shock, and then later on when he just so very easily kind of went along with the idea that that really was him being corrupted and manipulated, and that it's not something that he would have normally done, then the ending becomes legitimately tragic. It's something that was played up a lot more actually in the made-for-TV version of The Shining, which I saw when it premiered, and I think it does some things better than this one. It's not overall, it's not to the same level, but it does have a lot of things that I like that it did way better than this version. I think the character of Jack, for example, is a lot more multi-dimensional. Okay, two things I would change about this movie. Probably the expression that Jack Nicholson has in that final shot. It looks more annoyed than scared or angry. Yeah, it's the theory that time doesn't quite mean the same thing for the Overlook that it does for everything else. It just makes it that much more of this eldritch, Lovecraftian location. People have been trying to figure this ending out for a long time. I have my theory. I'm actually kind of curious what your theory is on it. So good. So good. Let's talk about it. There's really nothing that I think I can add to the scholarship of this movie in this video that I haven't already said. I have my theories, my analysis of why the movie works so well. It is very long. Don't get me wrong. It is extremely long. And I understand why a more modern audience might get bored with something like that. But if you give it the chance and you really just become an active participant in looking, not just getting stuff fed to you, it's an incredible movie from a filmmaking perspective. You got 3 actors on screen for most of this, just kind of carrying the whole thing, and they do a really, really fantastic job. The final half hour of this thing is just all these Jack in the Boxes popping. I keep saying Jack in the Box and the character's called Jack, played by Jack Nicholson. I understand that, but just all the stuff that's been set up, the characters and their arcs. But yeah, if I had to critique anything, it's probably that we didn't really get to see the family as a happy family to really contrast where it ended up. It would have made it so much more tragic, and probably the expression on Jack Nicholson's face at the end, because it's a little goofy looking. Not gonna lie. But that is it for My Randomology 2021. We're gonna start up again in January, and I'm very excited. I got a whole list of things that we're gonna watch. We're gonna definitely catch up with Masters of the Universe Revelation, see how that ends. Might do an analysis video for that as well, because I know that a lot of people have already put in their 2 cents, and it's not pretty. But I hope everybody has had a great December, a good holiday season. Please stay safe out there. If you like what you watched, not just in this video, but for the last 6-7 months that I've been doing this, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, sign on to Patreon, become a member there, and I will see everybody in 2022.